The story starts with a lively group of people energetically climbing up the mountain using the stairs. Among these people is our hero of this story, who does not seem to be enjoying the hike as much as the others, and he can be seen sweating profusely while gasping for air from exhaustion. Even the kids from the primary school are ahead of him, and these kids appear to be giggling at the sight of our hero's sorry state. Well, the hero of this story is apparently a novelist, and when the old man asks him why he cannot even keep up with the little kids, the dude simply explains that being a novelist gives him plenty of excuses to slack off, so he's not exactly the fittest person around. He appears to be clearly annoyed, especially since his editor roped him into this outing, and that stinky cunning fox himself might just be chilling under the cool air conditioning, while playing some video games to keep himself entertained. To take his revenge, this weakling annoyed ass is definitely looking forward to bombarding his cunning editor with so many drafts that even the air conditioner will not save him from the workload. But fate decides to play its funniest card, and the support stick our clueless hero was using breaks in half. Once he loses his balance, he tumbles down the hill hopelessly. As he falls, his whole miserable life flashes before his eyes, and he starts questioning all those questionable life choices that led him to his terrible fate. After falling down for 3 consecutive panels, he finally blacks out completely. Not long after, he starts to groggily open his eyes, while wondering how in the hell he is still alive. As he tries to move, he realizes his hands are tied with rope, and while he tries to make sense of how he ended up in this mess, some gross and stinky liquid drips onto his forehead. Looking up, he's shocked to see this weird hybrid woman drooling at him like he's some kind of delicious snack. But then he tries to calm himself down, thinking she is just a human after all, and people can't usually eat each other. Or so he thought. The woman grabs his dagger and starts running her finger over his body, still drooling like she is about to feast on some juicy, tender meat. And when we say meat, we mean the real deal. Not anything nasty you might be thinking of. Anyway, the idiot immediately starts bawling his eyes out at his miserable fate. First, he gets tossed off a cliff, and if that is not bad enough, he is now about to become someone's dinner. With the lady looming over him, her eyes gleaming with mischief, she in her own foreign language tells him to say his final words before he starts the new chapter in his life. But then, in a surprising twist, she swings her dagger and cuts his ropes, setting him free. Completely bewildered and utterly confused, he has no clue what the heck is going on. Well, looks like the lady was just messing with him all along, because she has no taste for humans, no matter how hungry she might be getting. The boy can't understand a single word she is saying, and that is when he starts to get curious. Upon taking a closer look, he notices her 2 pointy ears, a tail sticking out above her butt, and her overall bizarre appearance. The realization strikes him like a thunderbolt out of the blue by thinking that he somehow ended up transmigrating into a whole other world. He is really struggling to come to terms with the reality of his situation, but he tries to calm himself down to carefully observe his circumstances. Suddenly, his eyes light up at the sight of scattered bones and a bonfire pit nearby. Seeing these, he's pretty sure he's landed in the primitive era. When he peeks outside, his doubts are confirmed as he gazes upon a community of animal-like people. There is no mistaking it now that he's somehow been transported into a primitive society world. While he's busy checking out the lively scene before his eyes, he gets called out by this intimidating dude, which leaves this idiot totally terrified at the sight of this towering figure. The man speaks up in this foreign language, demanding to know our hero's name and why he's ended up in this place, which is known as Inferno Dragon Village. Seems like this tough guy is the lady's father. When she calls him dad, this man quickly corrects her, reminding her to use his designated title in front of outsiders. As the father and daughter go back and forth in their usual banter and teasing, our hero feels super awkward standing there, totally clueless about what they are saying, because he can't really understand this foreign language at all. On the other hand, the father-daughter duo feels a bit anxious seeing him standing there silently like a clueless statue. That is when Dad suggests bringing him to the sorcerer, since he is eagerly awaiting to see this newcomer. So, the lady starts nudging our boy, and as they stroll through the village, everyone's jaws drop at this unusual sight of our hero, wondering if he's from some undiscovered tribe. They even comment on how tender his meat looks, noting he's got no muscles to flex, making it clear this guy is not a beefed-up warrior. Seems like the dude is not really enjoying the attention he is getting, but he keeps on walking along with his face filled with anxiety, not sure what to do next. He notices the pile of animal bones again, which at least reassures him that these people do not have a taste for humans. They have also helped him by giving him shelter. Suddenly, the man calls out to him once more, but our hero just stares blankly as the man continues speaking in what sounds like gibberish to him. It seems even the fatherly figure has realized that this guy cannot understand them. So he points in a specific direction towards a hut, hinting for our hero to go inside. It turns out the chief of the village is nearing the end of his life, and the villagers are in a panic. None of the people in the village are qualified to become the next chief. So their last hope is our hero. They want to test him to see if he can be a candidate for chief. Once our hero finally steps into the hut, the old man gestures for him to come closer, so the clueless boy cautiously moves forward. After they are face to face, the old man suddenly stares at the boy with his bright eyes, and our hero starts drifting into this strange place carried by flames shaped like a dragon. The old man asks if he can see the dragon, which totally shocks our boy because they can finally understand each other. That is when the old man mentions they are inside our hero's soul, connected through their minds. The old man then conjures up that flame dragon back again and asks if our hero can see it. Confused but seeing the snakish dragon thing, the boy awkwardly says, yes. When he opens his eyes, he's back in the hut. The old man declares he will be joining Inferno Dragon Village as their next sorcerer. The villagers burst with joy at finding their new sorcerer. However, not everyone seems happy, and one wolfman is complaining about a kid becoming a sorcerer, while most are cool as long as they have got someone to guide the village for days to come. The boy's not exactly pumped about being a magician either, but it looks like he's stuck with this new job. The women then forcefully drag our hero around the village to make him acquainted. As the villagers talk among themselves, we discover our hero's name is Subai. Everyone finds his name rather unusual and speculates about which tribe he might belong to. Amidst them, a woman sheds tears of joy, relieved that they will not be outlaws anymore, because with Subai chosen as their new leader, their totem of Inferno Dragon tribe will not be abandoned. However, Subai himself questions if they made the right choice in selecting him for this role. Yanhua becomes annoyed and reminds him that the great sorcerer himself chose him for this job, so he should not doubt his decision. The woman introduces herself as Yanhua and assures him that he can rely on her whenever he needs help. With that in mind, Subai immediately asks her to tell him more about the tribe. Yanhua eagerly begins to explain that their tribe is called the Inferno Dragon tribe, named after their totems which are also called Inferno Dragon. She goes on to describe that there is a symbol of the Inferno Dragon, which she finds difficult to put into words. Hearing this, Subai starts thinking about the Inferno Dragon and wonders if what he saw in those flames was the actual totem. Subai then curiously asks about the social hierarchy. He finds it weird that even though her father is the village chief, why he must follow the shaman's directives. She rolls her eyes at our hero's cluelessness and explains that the shaman is actually the big boss here, who calls all the shots. Then there is her dad, Yan Jiao, as a chief. Below them are the hunting captains. Then come totem warriors. On the second positions are reserve warriors, and at the last are regular villagers. It is a lot of information for Subai to wrap his head around, but he figures he will get the hang of it eventually. Yanhua's mood shifts to sadness as she talks about how their tribe used to thrive on their ancestral lands, once with nearly 300 people. But everything went downhill when the Black Snake tribe attacked. Those slimy snakes killed many of their people and grabbed all the good land, leaving the Inferno Dragon tribe no choice but to flee. Now, she is determined to get stronger, rescue their captured friends, and kick those reptiles out to reclaim their home turf back. A while later, we find both of them wandering around, with Yanhua showing our hero the ropes and familiarizing him with everything. After enough walking, Subai feels a pang of disappointment and sadness seeing how tough life is for these people. He notices their pale and thin bodies, a clear sign of food scarcity. The living conditions are rough, and the sanitation is terrible, making it easy for germs to spread. He realizes that an outbreak of infectious disease would be an absolute disaster for the already struggling tribe. As he's feeling overwhelmed, unsure how he will clean up this mess, he's suddenly hit by an unexpected system window flashing that he has finally awakened his system. Surprisingly, the boy is not shocked to see the system pop up. As a writer, he's already familiar with this kind of thing. So, he dives right into communicating with the system. Currently, the only functionality available to him is logging in daily to receive random tips that could help him in his beginner stage. Each daily login gives him a 1% chance to receive an intermediate assistance package and a 0.1% chance for an advanced assistance package. Monthly logins guarantee an intermediate assistance package, and he's promised one premium assistance package per year. Our hero is not exactly thrilled to discover there are only 3 levels of assistance packages available, and he is even less excited knowing that more advanced packages will not be offered until he completes a full year. He is afraid that by then, everyone will have starved to death. Out of the blue, he asks his system if other people around him can also see the notification windows, to which the system responds that only the user can interact with it. It becomes abundantly clear when Yanhua starts getting annoyed at our hero for spacing out and not listening to her. Before he can get into any more trouble, the idiot immediately apologizes, explaining that he's feeling a bit dizzy. Although she forgives him for his absent-mindedness, she still seems really mad at him. After their eventful day ends, they finally retreat into their tent. Yanhua sits silently on the ground while Subai looks around the cottage, wondering if he's supposed to crash here for the night. To his relief, Yanhua blushingly agrees. Without a second thought, the dude immediately jumps onto the cozy bed, while the girl still seems embarrassed and anxious about having him around. The idiot, completely clueless, starts shamelessly sniffing the bed sheets and gets really excited, commenting that they smell like milk, but he's not complaining. The lady finally snaps and jumps at our clueless hero, blushingly telling him to knock it off and stop sniffing everything because this is her cottage. A moment later, we find these two just sitting there in a thick layer of awkwardness. It seems Subai is okay with living together, given her hot looks and voluptuous figure, but she does not seem to feel the same way, and immediately starts pinching his cheeks just because he tried to think about some naughty stuff. Frustrated, she storms out, telling him she is going on patrol. The boy knows she is a mature girl, but sometimes she gets oversensitive about these kinds of topics. He figures he will eventually smooth things over with her. Later on, Subai gets back to the system. After logging in, he eagerly taps the button for his first daily reward. The system pops up a notification, surprising him with a mid-level assistance package, which consists of a level 1 healing technique. Subai did not expect such a good reward right off the bat, but the system tells him to hold his horses because this is just a bonus for his first time logging in. After poking around a bit more, he figures out he can level up his healing technique once he maxes out his proficiency. So, he opens up the character attribute panel to check his progress. While opening it up, he's hoping for some cool stats. Instead, he's bummed out to see the description calling him a couch-squatting novelist with subpar health. He sighs and decides he better start exercising if he wants to survive in this tough world. As night falls, we see the shaman in one of the cottages, playing with colorful stones. The chief Yanjiao asks why he had to pick a kid from who knows where as their next shaman. While coughing, the old man reminds him our hero is the only guy with the shaman's gift in the entire village. Suddenly, the shaman's coughing gets worse and spits up blood, while immediately informing Yanjiao that he will not last more than a few days given his health. Feeling guilty, the chief blames their own weakness for not being able to stand up to the snake tribe and overworking the shaman. The old man reassures him with a pat on the shoulder, urging him to forget the past and focus on what is ahead. He tells the chief to spread the word that the inheritance ceremony will kick off in 3 days. The concerned father keeps eyeing our hero, thinking he might be a spy from the snake tribe, but the old man brushes off his worries again, saying there is no way the snake tribe could raise someone so clean and innocent. The shaman already checked the boy's soul and found no malice. He was clear as a stream without a speck of dirt, and everything points to him likely coming from the great tribe of legends. After that reassurance, the man finally looks relieved and decides to head out to start getting things ready for the inheritance ceremony. Before Yanjiao takes off, the old man drops a hint that shamans often have exceptional children, hinting it might be wise for him to prepare to cultivate more shamans. The father instantly gets what the shaman means and nods reassuringly, agreeing that he will probably end up with a bunch of kids in the years to come. Meanwhile, the lady was already listening in on their conversation and heard every bit of what the shaman said. Caught in the act, her father gets furious for her eavesdropping, but she tries to play it off, telling her father she was just patrolling and did not catch a thing. In any case, the father tells her not to worry about anything, whether she overheard anything or not, and tells her that he has a task he wants her to complete. Hearing this, the lady immediately gets excited and eagerly asks what kind of mission she will be getting into. The man goes quiet for a moment, then drops the bombshell. She will have to hook up with the shaman's successor and start popping out kids. This short statement completely overwhelms her, and she remains silent for a good couple of panels. But then she explodes, insisting she will only marry someone who can beat her in a fight and has no interest in skinny weaklings. The father gets angry and orders her to stop her nonsense, strictly instructing her to go to him and mate right away, since she is already 19. The lady defiantly starts running in the opposite direction, shouting back that she does not want children and only cares about getting stronger for revenge. She even sticks her tongue out provocatively at her father, leaving the man chasing her from behind. Meanwhile, the old man smiles as he listens to the lively bunch being as energetic as ever, content to stay and watch them grow. The stones he's holding start glowing, hinting he's planning something big. The next morning arrives, and as soon as our hero steps out of his cottage, he's visibly shivering from the cold. Looks like he had a rough night. He was nearly frozen to death, and now he's desperately looking for holes to fix and survive another day. Yanhua then enters the scene. Seeing her standing there, the boy asks her to help him find some straw, but she seems lost in her own thoughts. When she looks at Subai, her mind cannot help but imagine herself playing with his children, which fills her with anxiety and embarrassment. And well, she inadvertently starts slapping our hero while protesting that she does not want to end up with someone skinny like him. While the poor guy is barely holding on to consciousness, he tries to remind her that he just asked for a few straws and nothing more. Still embarrassed, she asks what he's planning to do with the straws. In response, he points her attention towards the holes and explains he just wants to patch them up. Hearing this, She gets annoyed and defensive, even though she was the one who overreacted in the first place. Subai is creeped out because he has no idea what her deal is. Anyway, the guy struggles to stand up after taking a beating. As he walks, he notices a hut nearby without walls. Under its roof, 2 children are soundly asleep on the bare ground without any bedding. The girl explains that most people do not have houses because animal fur is valuable, and they have to hunt it themselves to use. Our hero's heart melts, and he grabs a bundle of straws, carefully covering both children to prevent them from freezing. Yanhua asks him why he gave them the straws, reminding him that as a sorcerer, he should prioritize his own health and safety first. But the boy cuts her off, saying everyone is equal to him. Seems like our hero's strong ideals struck a chord with Yanhua, making her reconsider that he is probably not as bad as she originally thought. As evening sets in, one of the soldiers excitedly announces the hunting party's return. It looks like they have really gone all out this time, bringing back loads of meat. The children in particular are overjoyed at the chance to finally have a taste of it. Seeing this, our hero curiously asks Yanhua if they also derived meat according to the hierarchy. To which, she nods in agreement and explains that most of the meat goes mostly to the totem warriors. A bit trickles down to reservists and children, but the ordinary folks hardly ever get any. They usually have to settle for wild fruits, which never quite satisfy their appetites. Furthermore, half of the meat also must be dried as reserves right after the hunting teams come out. It makes sense why meat is so hard to come by here, especially with just a handful of soldiers trying to feed the whole village. That is when our hero gets this bright idea about farming and raising animals for food. But the concept seems totally foreign to the lady, who asks what farming is and questions the point of raising animals when they are all struggling to feed themselves. By now, Subai is starting to realize it is going to be a lot tougher to educate these people than he first thought. Suddenly, one of the hunters steps up to our hero and asks Yanhua about the newcomer's identity. This sparks a realization for the hunter, who after putting the boar down, gets all chummy and wonders aloud if maybe this boy is a potential husband chosen for her by the village chief. Of course, this catches the lady off guard, and she quickly corrects him, explaining that he's actually the next shaman in line. This big old cat is totally floored and pumped about having a new sorcerer in town. Another one starts poking fun at our hero, saying he needs to chow down on a ton of meat to beef up, because the whole village's future rests on his scrawny shoulders. Subai turns to the girl, asking if people around here are always this nice to strangers. She lets out a sigh, reminding him he's the village's next big hope. Hence he is getting all the attention. Even the village kids are willing to share their meat, though they have not had a bite in ages. Later that starry night, they are sitting together, and the girl looks bummed he did not take the meat offered by the kid. It was an honor for the child to share. But the boy's just not into all the power games, because to him, everyone's on the same level, and he is no exception. While our hero is about to sink his teeth into the tantalizing food, he notices Yanhua eyeing his meal hungrily. When he offers her a taste, she initially declines, but the aroma is too tempting to resist. Despite her protests, she cannot hold back and decides to take a single bite. But as soon as she opens her mouth, it is clear her appetite is anything but small. In one monstrous chomp, she devours more than half of the meat, leaving our hero awestruck at the sheer size of her bite. Her taste buds are in ecstasy, savoring every moment of the feast. Without a complaint, the boy finishes what is left of the meat and finds it tastes almost like the ones he used to eat on Earth, though he wishes it had some salt. Hearing his remark, the lady pulls out a wooden bottle containing the last remaining salt in the entire village, a precious commodity she has been saving for who knows how long. Despite its scarcity, she grants our hero permission to use it, acknowledging his role as a shaman. Subai hesitates, realizing that salt is rare in this primitive era, unlike on Earth. Ultimately, he hands it back, opting to eat the tasteless raw meat. Although she initially wanted him to use it, she takes the salt back reluctantly. Once again, Subai feels saddened by the miserable state of these poor people, knowing he has no immediate solutions to their problems. He then proceeds to eat his meat while asking about the source of the salt. Yanhua mentions that another team of hunters from their tribe went to a neighboring tribe. You see, every 15 days, the leopard deer tribe holds a market where people from nearby tribes can buy various goods. The boy then inquires about the time and distance to reach this market, and Yanhua responds it takes about 10 days. Upon hearing this, the boy decides to visit the market to learn more about this world. Suddenly, someone approaches from behind, and Yanhua quickly covers her mouth to avoid being caught eating meat. The man informs our hero that the shaman has called for him. Soon after, they arrive at the shaman's cottage, and Subai stands before the creepy old man. Today's the day our hero will learn the ropes of being a sorcerer and all that jazz. As he braces himself, the old man begins by asking if he understands what it means to be a sorcerer. Subai scratches his head, looking a bit unsure. The old man nods knowingly and dives in, explaining that a sorcerer is the tribe's protector, the one who steers its future and guides its path. To earn the title, you have got to master the totem powers unique to your tribe and activate those totem marks in the warrior's blood. The boy then asks the old man about the totem warriors and what makes them so powerful. The old man explains that totem warriors are the toughest people in the tribe, besides the sorcerer. Each of them packs a punch with their chi and blood, but there is a catch: without a totem mark to guide them, all that power does not fully come out. That is where the sorcerer steps in. They are the ones who can unlock this potential and help warriors tap into their blood's true strength. In simpler terms, only sorcerers can unleash the full potential hidden in everyone's blood. With the right guidance, even someone not born strong can become a formidable totem warrior. It is all about that difference in chi and blood strength among people, which slices them into 3 categories, which are ordinary soldiers, reserve soldiers, and totem warriors. And if our hero beefs up his blood strength enough, he will level up through the sorcerer's ritual. The old man goes on to explain that while the reserve soldiers can handle most beasts, the real danger lies beyond the tribe's borders, where powerful beasts roam freely, and only strong totem warriors can face these threats. They might be few in number, but they are crucial to the tribe's strength. The tribe's overall strength depends on how many totem warriors they have, and with a sorcerer around, they can train ordinary folks to become these formidable warriors. This is why sorcerers are highly respected. Digging deeper, the shaman reveals that sorcerers are not just about training warriors, because they can also create new sorcerers. He then presents his domino sorcerer created by him, along with the scrolls detailing the methods to create these domino sorcerer, and gives our hero permission to read them. But as soon as this idiot opens the scroll, he gets slapped by this unfamiliar language. When he tries to make sense out of this gibberish, his head starts spinning. The old man reassures Subai that he will be able to comprehend the sorcerer's texts after the inheritance ceremony concludes. He then presents one of the domino sorcerers, explaining that each one is imbued with magic. By utilizing their own magic power, they can activate these artifacts. This mention of magic catches Subai's attention, and he eagerly listens as the old man continues. He explains the various types of magic, such as techniques for poisoning, blessings that enhance strength and speed, healing techniques for injuries, and more. The boy eagerly asks the sorcerer what kind of abilities he's good at. The old-timer mentions he's skilled in healing and uses some blessing techniques, or at least this is what the ordinary people know about him. Hearing that short sentence, Subai quickly catches on that sorcerers probably keep their powers under wraps and never spill all their tricks to the public to avoid ambush. The old man nods at Subai's cunningness and explains that while sorcerers are a powerful bunch, they are also the first ones to become targets, so secrecy is key. Moving on, the old man reminds our hero that the methods for making and using domino sorcerers are tribal secrets written in those leather scrolls Subai has to keep locked up in his brain. Subai promises the old man he will guard those secrets with his life. But just as they are talking, the old man starts coughing up blood severely. Seeing the sorcerer in bad shape, Subai dashes over and starts using his healing mojo to help him out. While on his deathbed, this old geezer is seriously impressed by our hero's healing magic and chuckles, realizing that all those years of waiting were not in vain after all. However, it becomes clear that Subai's current healing ability is not enough to save the old man, a fact confirmed by the system window. Despite his condition, the old man insists that Subai help him stand up, knowing there is still time left, and he wants to complete the ceremony. After that, the old man steps forward to finally commence the inheritance ceremony. They stroll through the villagers towards the stage. Once they get there, our hero is asked to kneel before the old man. As soon as Subai kneels down, the sorcerer starts the ceremony, and the crowd cheers loudly in response. The sorcerer then instructs everyone to offer their blood. In an instant, those at the front cut their palms, and blood flows out, moving towards the old man, who molds all of this crimson fluid into a ball-like shape. As soon as the blood transforms into the dragon-shaped totem, this miniature creature rushes toward our hero. When the boy absorbs the dragon, a fiery aura suddenly envelops his entire body. The old man then places his index finger on his own forehead, summoning a small energy ball at his fingertips. He presses it gently against our hero's forehead, explaining that this is the true inheritance of the sorcerers, which contains the history of the sorcerers and the secrets of the totem's power. In the next moment, the boy begins to drift into another dimension. As he falls, the scene shifts to a group of wandering outlaws who are all returning to their ancestral land. One of the kids points out that they haven't eaten for 2 days and might starve to death before reaching their destination. And this kid seems to be our wise old man. When the night falls, he steps away from his crew, clutching the Dominion Sorcerer in his hands. He prays to the totem gods to guide him in seeing the future of his tribe. As soon as he says this, a powerful aura surrounds him, which catches everyone's attention standing in distance. His teacher, who is also his mom, rushes over to him. The boy seems to have inhaled a copious amount of divination potions, leading everyone to believe that he might die right here because divination is considered a taboo. But his mom starts healing him right away. Despite his messed up situation, he manages to crack a faint smile on his face, and as he is about to spill the beans on the bright future he saw for their tribe in his divination, his mom quickly warns him to keep this divination hush-hush and insists he should never rely on predictions to carve his future no matter what. So he asks his mom about what she thinks of the tribe's future and if they will ever get strong. She says nobody can be sure, but she is pretty sure if her son's the one leading she has nothing to fret about. It appears that this child saw our hero standing right there in his divination, which gives him hope that our hero will become the savior who leads the tribe out of its darkest times. After that, the old man just waited for that savior to show up. As he got older, he just kept waiting for our hero, watching his loved ones pass away before him. Even when the snake tribe took over our Inferno Dragon tribe, the old man never gave up. He was waiting all this time to meet the chosen one he saw in his childhood divination. And now, our hero, the chosen one the sorcerer foresaw long ago, has finally arrived. Seeing the old man's past struggles, tears involuntarily streamed down Subai's face. The sorcerer tells the boy not to cry, and then dips his fingers into blood, officially passing on the future of the Inferno Dragon tribe to our hero. With those final words, the old man peacefully passes away. It is not a tragic end to his life. Rather, the sorcerer dies contentedly, having finally entrusted the tribe's responsibility to someone he believed in. The next thing the boy knows, he wakes up in the cottage, realizing he must have been brought there after the old man died. It appears our hero is now flowing with newfound powers, especially after having mastered everything about sorcery and totems. Actually, the totems are essentially like a sorcerer's script, evolved from a collection of sorcerer's patterns. This also means that the main secret of the inheritance ceremony is the inheritance of these patterns. He also notices that his vision has massively improved, fixing his nearsightedness, and his body feels stronger than ever. He then checks his system attribute panel and is delighted to find that his stamina, strength, and speed have doubled, while his spirit has increased tenfold. He also notices an extra boost in magic power. Oddly enough, he sees that both his magic power and spirit power values are equal, wondering if there is a correlation between them. The system reveals that magic power is derived from spiritual power, but skills obtained from system packs only utilize his own spiritual strength. Afterwards, he decides to claim 2 daily login packages. When he grants the system permission to open them, he receives a fruit knife and a beginner's help ebook on linen textile craft. Seems like he's not exactly jumping for joy with these seemingly random and unwanted items. I will not bore you with the whole history of Chinese linen textile craft, but it is clear that this skill could be useful. Our hero can now make sackcloths for the tribe, replacing expensive animal skins. Suddenly he's called by the village chief, who apologizes for the interruption and informs him that he should now occupy the previous shaman's place in the main cottage as the tribe's sorcerer. The boy feels a pang of sadness as he remembers the dead sorcerer and asks what happened to his body. Just then, the lion dude enters and explains that they followed the old sorcerer's advice and cremated him. All that is left after the cremation is what looks like a piece of rock, and it turns out this rock is not just any old thing, but actually it is a relic. The both of the henchmen just get confused, wondering what the hell this relic thing even is. That is when the boy explains that legend says, people with great merit leave relics behind after cremation. He wants to keep these relics and even plans to build a temple once they have won back their land from those crawling snakes. Later on, we are in the sorcerer's cottage. Our hero asks his buddy about how things are going in the tribe and if there is enough meat. The lion guy says there is hardly any meat left, just about enough for the totem warriors, and with that quantity, they cannot even feed 6 reservists. Hearing that, our hero gets worried and asks if they have only got 6 reserves left. The chief explains they started with 26, but most were captured by the Black Snake tribe's totem warriors during the migration. They are either dead or became slaves. Now, our hero's main worry is dealing with the Black Snake tribe. To figure things out, he starts by asking how far away the enemy turf is located. The chief says the Black Snake tribe will not bother them for now, because the land here is a bit barren. And because of barren lands, there are not many beasts around our Inferno Dragon tribe spot, so they have to trek for days to bag some prey. It is a relief that the Snake tribe will not come here since there are no monsters to hunt, but it is a bummer they cannot snag extra meat either. He is starting to worry that he and the villagers might just starve at this rate. Suddenly, a light bulb flickers in our hero's head, and he asks the lion if he knows anything about linen. The lion explains that linen is super rare and usually made by big tribes. He has always wanted linen clothes and hopes his kids can wear them too. They tried making linen themselves after migrating, but could not find any meat to trade for it. Even in the big markets, either the linen material is out of stock or it is way too expensive. You will have to cough up at least 3 pieces of dry meat only to get a roll of linen. The boy then asks how much one piece of meat weighs. Those two, looking like underdeveloped monkeys, think hard and use hand gestures to show him the approximate size of a piece of dried meat. Next, the boy hits them with the big question. How big is a roll of linen? The lion dude sprawls out on the ground, and the chief uses the lion as a reference to give an estimate of how long the linen might be. Subai's brain kicks in, and he quickly figures out that for a 10-meter roll of linen, he would need at least 300 pounds of dried meat, which is crazy expensive. Subai wants to use this crazy prize of linen to his benefit, and decides to hoard lots of meat so everyone can eat as much as they want. In the next scene, we find the warriors and the lion rummaging through a field, searching for some special grass. One of the soldiers starts complaining, reminding them that they are supposed to be hunting some real monsters, not mowing the lawn. Their leader instantly bonks his lackey on the head and tells him to shut his filthy mouth because this is related to the future of the tribe. Apparently, a while ago, our hero was the one who suggested they find this certain type of grass which is going to help them make fabric. Subai further warns them to keep the secret under wraps to avoid becoming targets of others. And right now, the lion is all pumped up and determined not to let their sorcerer down by failing to finish the job. Back at the sorcerer's cottage, our hero is sulking because he's worried their current stock of meat is too little to survive a few more days, and he will not be able to produce linen soon enough to trade for more meat before the stocks run dry. Since he only shared the secret with Lion Kangxi and Chief Yanjiao, he's afraid it will take forever to round up enough material. The method of making linen is a secret, and he cannot just teach it to everyone because it might fall into the wrong hands. Worst case scenario, they might not find the material at all, and he cannot ignore other problems like shelter, salt, and clean water. Just thinking about these issues makes him bang his head in frustration. In the end, he realizes he's just a novelist who bombed his economics class back in the days. Suddenly, Yanhua bursts into the scene. Seeing him sulking, she gets uncomfortably close to check his temperature, and the virgin inside this idiot quickly forces him to back off, demanding to know what the hell she was doing outside. To which, she explains she is just doing her job to protect the sorcerer since her father and the other warriors are all out. The boy retorts by asking if she can even take care of herself. Yanhua gets angry and starts playfully choking him, causing the poor guy to gasp and turn pale. He hurriedly apologizes, admitting he now has no doubts about her strength. He then goes back to sulking once again, muttering about whether sorcerers have to deal with all of the shit alone. Yanhua quickly reminds him that sorcerers always have an assistant. But unfortunately, during their fights with the Black Serpent tribe, the assistant tried to protect the sorcerer, and the Snake tribe ended up taking down the very pillar of the Inferno Dragon tribe that day. Then the boy asks Yanhua if she knows anyone who is sharp, puts in the effort, and has both lofty ideals and practical smarts. When she hears this, Yanhua grins and moves in closer and asks him how about her. But the boy drags her back to reality, telling her she literally lacks every single one of those qualities. The girl gets totally mad and starts pouting, grudgingly suggesting he pick Miko instead. When the boy asks who Miko is, Yanhua explains she is usually a woman who handles everything for the sorcerer, from cleaning to giving advice. Subai lights up with joy, realizing he's found just what he needed. He asks Yanhua if she knows someone who could be their Miko. She is hesitant at first, but eventually admits her friend might be someone perfect for this job. The scene then takes us into a flashback, where we see Yanhua's dad insists she is perfect for the Miko role since she has been around him a lot lately. Even though she is not up for being someone's caretaker, her father tries to push her into it. She starts crying and yells back at him, asking how she is supposed to get stronger and seek revenge if she ends up just being someone's maid. In the present moment, while she is recalling all of that in her mind, the boy asks her again about where they can find Miko. Yanhua points towards a hut. As she is about to call her friend out, the boy stops her, insisting he wants to take a look for himself before approaching. Once he peeks inside, he sees 3 ladies, one with fox ears and tails standing out the most. He is pretty sure she must be the one Yanhua is talking about. Yanhua asks for his opinion about Yu Ying, to which the boy sheepishly points out that although she is beautiful, she looks frail, and the tribal blood marks on her face are starting to fade. Yanhua quickly brushes off his concern, saying that while Yu Ying may appear weak, she is the most diligent and kind person around, despite sometimes being stubborn. She explains further that her uncle is Lion Kangxi. Her parents passed away when she was young, and she was raised by her aunt. Recently her aunt became pregnant, and Yu Ying moved here so her aunt could eat properly without sharing food with her. The boy appreciates her gesture. Meanwhile, inside the hut, the other 2 ladies suggest to Yu Ying that she should just become the sorceress's Miko, instead of enduring hardship and putting up with crap just to stay barely alive. Yu Ying immediately gets embarrassed and anxiously tells the ladies that she does not think she is suitable to have the honor of becoming the sorceress's servant. The ladies continue to pester her, teasing with their dry humor that I will not bother repeating. But Yu Ying's response remains the same. Besides, Her friend Yanhua once told her that her lifelong wish is to become a Miko, and as Yanhua's friend, she does not want to take this opportunity away from her. As she says all of this, our hero listens to everything, and Yanhua gets totally pissed off, seeing Yu Ying exposing her secrets emotionally in front of our hero. In a fit of rage, Yanhua bursts inside frustratedly and lashes out at Yu Ying, demanding to know what the hell she is talking about. Yu Ying is startled to see her friend barging in, and with her voice trembling with fear, she asks if Yanhua was eavesdropping. That is when the boy intervenes, clarifying that they were simply observing. At this point, Yu Ying starts crying because the great sorcerer heard everything, and she is feeling so embarrassed she wishes she could just disappear. But the boy continues, wanting to ask a few questions. His first one is whether she can write. The other ladies are surprised and shocked to realize that their chosen one can also write. Yu Ying speaks up, admitting that she actually cannot write and apologizes for this. The boy gets all puzzled seeing their reactions, and asks if he just asked something he should not have. Yanhua then reminds him that only the big tribes have their vocabulary, while the Inferno Dragon does not have any. Subai then gets straight to the point and asks Yu Ying if she is actually interested in becoming a Miko, especially since Yanhua was all about recommending her. Hearing this, Yu Ying gets all confused and wonders if Yanhua was not interested in becoming a Miko herself. Yanhua then spouts the same nonsense about avenging everyone and becoming a totem warrior. Besides, she realized her friend is the best fit since her dream is also to become a Miko. The boy also tells Yu Ying not to hold back on her wish, but the girl still acts shy and kinda silly. So our hero just gets up and starts walking off, saying if she decides, she can find him. Yanhua quickly catches up to him and reminds him that Yu Ying is just a shy girl, so he should cut her some slack. The boy responds that he's not stopping her from becoming a Miko. She has got to take that leap herself to grow stronger and fight her own battles in life. Finally, we see someone running towards our party. Yanhua is thrilled, thinking her friend has probably decided to become a Miko. When the person catches up to our hero and hands him a gift as a form of appreciation, the boy gladly accepts it, though he's clueless about what he did to deserve it. Meanwhile, Miko seems sad that it was not her friend, and they decide to head off again. That is when the girl points out that Yu Ying is also coming and appears to have been left behind. Once the exhausted Yu Ying finally catches up to our hero, her spirits perk right up, and she boldly declares she wants to be a Miko. After spilling her heart out, Yu Ying starts tearing up, but her friend gives her a comforting shoulder, telling her to be proud instead of crying. Yu Ying explains that this waterwork is her tears of joy, finally getting her long-held wish to be a Miko. She is a bit bummed it happened so easily, but our hero chips in, saying there is no need to keep the criteria so strict anyway. As he looks at both ladies, this guy's just glad they are both hot, even if they can be a bit annoying. He is not complaining, as long as he gets to check out those curvy bodies. Subai then tells Yu Ying to wash her face, but she quickly fires back that she is not wasting precious water just to splash it on her face. This leaves the boy clueless, like a cat at a dog show, and the ladies start freaking out as our hero makes his distance from those stinky and smelly ladies. He then asks them how often the villagers actually bathe here. The lady rolls her eyes, reminding him they only shower once a year during the rainy season, which everyone knows, and she is annoyed she has to explain it. Subai is totally thrown off by all this. He is now convinced these people must have super senses of smell and just gotten used to their own funk. Yu Ying timidly asks our hero if bathing every day is really that important. The boy nods enthusiastically, already thinking about finding a water source to set up a decent sanitation system. He asks where they can find water around here. Yanhua points out there is a small lake in the forest to the southeast, but warns about powerful beasts nearby. Only totem warriors can approach it. Water's brought in and provided by these warriors, but only enough to quench their thirst. Subai insists they show him the way, but both ladies grab him hard enough that this weakling piece of shit starts choking over his own blood. They warn him not to step outside because it is too risky and dangerous. But Subai would rather take his chances with the beasts out there than stay cooped up here with these rowdy girls. Yu Ying chips in, reminding him about the possibility of getting kidnapped by other exiled totem warriors from rival tribes, which has totally happened before, and that is why sorcerers cannot wander off solo. Despite all the protests and warnings of danger, he's dead set on checking out the waters himself. He argues that dragging hunters along just to fetch water is a waste of energy. While the trio is arguing, there seems to be someone keeping an eye at them. As night falls, the ladies reluctantly tag along with our hero through the dark forest after giving up on his wishes. They promise to protect him, even if it means risking their lives. Despite trying to avoid danger, they are unaware they are being followed. The boy frets over whether these clueless women even know where they are headed, because he does not want to die as a virgin. As they continue walking, a beast's shadow charges at them. Suddenly, the person trailing them springs into action, grabbing the monster by the throat and shattering its dagger with bare hands. Surprisingly, this dude who looks like an underpaid thug is from their tribe, and the lady trailing them is Aunt Hong, known as Black Claw among their people. The thug finally gets his throat released. The man starts yelling, pointing in another direction, asking if our hero brought any domino sorcerers, because one of their crew members is badly banged up and needs medical help pronto. It turns out this tough-looking guy is actually in rough shape. The chief tells him to hang tight, but the injured guy urges them to move fast, warning that beasts will soon swarm them, drawn by the scent of blood. Suddenly, they spot movement in the bushes. One of the soldiers reacts on instinct, throwing a dart, and this poor guy gets hit again after getting mistaken for a wild beast once more. Once the chief realizes they have mistaken their own men for outsiders, they come to a screeching halt. But not before the chief gives the poor victim a playful bonk on the head, asking him what in the world he's doing here with the sorcerer when he was only supposed to fetch a domino sorcerer. As the other ladies brace for a scolding, our hero steps in, telling the chief not to whack these poor guys since he's the one who insisted on leaving the village in the first place. Our hero gets down to business, patching up this strange, copy-paste version of Griffin. Everyone watches as the injured guy gets patched up in record time. The boy points out that this quick recovery must be thanks to the totem warrior's resilience, mentioning that if it were an ordinary person taking that hit, they would be starring in their own tragic tale by now. Once Subai finally patches up the dude by using his healing ability repeatedly, this duck is blown away when he finds his gigantic hole in his body completely patched up. Subai is totally wiped out after all the healing, feeling dizzy and about to pass out. When he checks his stats, he realizes his healing ability has shot up by 9 points. Determined to level up this power even more, he sees it as literally the best trick he has got, knowing he just pulled that duck back from the brink of bird heaven. He then checks his other stats and asks the system how he can recover his mental health. The system tells him he just needs to get some rest or chug a recovery potion. Subai turns to the chief and inquires what happened to them to get these kinds of nasty injuries. The chief reveals that this flappy bird here got a bit too cocky with his wings and ended up getting zapped by some deadwood wolves who can shoot lasers. Manhwa starts pinching Subai's cheeks, reminding him that Flappy Bird may be a peak junior totem warrior, but he still got his butt kicked. If he cannot handle it, this place is definitely a death trap for sorcerers like our hero. Well, it is not just the regular forest critters you gotta watch out for, but also the big bad beasts that only tough people and warriors can handle. They are categorized from weak to strong, and there are 3 types: mixed race, pure race, and inherited race beasts. The totem warriors have 3 levels of strength too. Right now, it is just our hero, the chief, Lion Kangxi, and that Flappy Bird in the top tier. Once you hit peak junior totem warrior status, you are likely to break into the intermediate level. Beasts like those deadwood wolves with their ranged attacks are a real pain. If they sneak up on you, melee's your best bet for a win. Subai says his healing skills kinda like traditional Chinese medicine, with physical therapy kicking in to speed things up. As the chief starts heading back home, our hero throws a fit, insisting they absolutely need to find that water source, or the tribe is screwed. But the chief stands firm, refusing to take any risks. But the boy keeps pushing, talking about the kids, the women, the elders, all of them who need water to survive in future. He does not give a damn about his own safety. It is about keeping his promise to the old shaman. He promises his father-in-law they will bail if things get hairy. Finally, the chief agrees to the plan and rallies up everyone to protect the sorcerer no matter what. The tribe matches the chief's determination with their own energy. Shortly after, this weakling dude struggles to keep pace with the others. But he is just glad he's not falling too far behind, since Yu Ying is walking behind him. Then, Yu Ying pulls out some freshly picked fruits, and he finally comes to realize that he's definitely not as skilled as her, which makes him teary-eyed over his bruised manly ego. Suddenly, the chief slams on the brakes, deciding to camp for the night before reaching the water pool. The next day rolls around, revealing monsters lurking at the pool's edge, deadwood wolves, looking downright terrifying. The chief tries to reassure the boy that they can handle these wolves somehow, but the real danger lurks in the lake, which is known as the rock crocodile. He explains that even if all the totem warriors attack these reptiles head-on, they would struggle to take down even 2 because these crocodiles roll deep in groups. The father-in-law explains they usually wait for the reptiles to snooze outside the lake, then they haul water in 4 trips at a time. Not sold on this brute but goofy plan, the boy suggests a smarter approach, which involves digging. He tells the puzzled group it is not just a lake but a natural pool that collects rainwater and runoff. There is no sign of evaporated watermarks from rainy season overflow, meaning it is sustained by runoff and groundwater. They can dig a canal in nearby lowlands to channel the lake's water to the tribe, saving them from endless trips. Although these 2 ladies does not understand any of it, but they are sure that this must be a pretty good idea. Black Fang jumps right in for the digging job, but our hero hesitates, pointing to his bruised up body that might not let him work properly. The wolf just drugs it off, saying it is just a scratch, though the chief's last bonk still makes him a bit dizzy. Subai then remembers another thing bothering him and asks his father-in-law why everyone always attacks first without figuring out who it might be their opponent. The old man explains it is their hunting instinct, because in hunting, the one who strikes first usually has a better chance of winning, so they go for it without second-guessing. He also points out that the number of soldiers in the tribe has gotten really less, so they cannot be careful, and this remark prompts the boy to quickly apologize for doubting their way of thinking. Black Fang just dives into digging, even though he has not got a clue where to start. From that point onward, our hero assigns everyone their respective roles, and everyone just gets to the work. As Yanhua works diligently, the boy cannot help but admire her peachy ass, though we are not sure how it is relevant to the plot. After a while, Yanhua reports that everything is going swimmingly. The boy's thrilled at first, but then he starts feeling like they might be missing something big. And right on cue, he remembers that these beasts might use their ditch to have some time for an afternoon swimming party. So our hero suggests a change in plans before they end up digging a swimming pool for wildlife instead of a water source for the tribe. To kick off their next step, he asks about the location of the bamboo forest because they need some bamboo for their project. Upon hearing this, the whole crew stares in confusion, wondering what kind of vegetable he's on about. Our hero clarifies that bamboo is a plant that is tough on the outside but hollow inside. Yanhua chimes in, mentioning there are similar hollow trees known as red knuckle trees and heartless grass, which can only be found in the ancestral lands. The chief interrupts, asking what they are going to do with them aside from turning them into makeshift butt-poking entertainment devices. Rather than engage in butt-related jokes, our hero explains the concept of a pipe and how they will use bamboo to create one for water flow. Seems like the father-in-law has the perfect thing in mind for this job. In the next moment, we see the chief cutting down some hollow trees, which our boy finds conveniently thick and wide enough to hold water. Basically, nature's perfect pipes. The chief, being his primitive self, is still puzzled about what they could possibly do with these. In response, our hero assures him he will find out soon enough. Just then, Yu Ying appears, announcing that Black Fang has struck water in the hole he dug. Once he sees groundwater seeping out, Subai's face lights up with happiness. And there is our primitive genius feeling pretty chuffed about stumbling upon water just by digging a hole in the ground. Meanwhile, Yanhua has big plans to dig similar pits in the village to solve their water problem. But our hero gently pops her bubble, explaining that water sources cannot just be dug up anywhere. Their success here was because of the nearby lake, where water naturally seeped into the ground. The chief, still scratching his head over these tree trunks, finally asks what they are for in this water-digging adventure. Our boy finally breaks it down. They are going to use these hollow tree trunks to create an underground canal that stretches all the way to the village. Once everyone hears this, they immediately start getting hyped up after making a step closer. But it seems like Yu Ying is still curious, and asks why water is not seeping out of their little pit if it can seep out from the lake. In response, our hero explains that the lake has a lot more water, which creates greater pressure against its walls. This pressure forces water to seep out naturally. On the other hand, their small pit does not have enough water or pressure to push through the walls and cause leakage. Subai gets all fired up and tells everyone to grab some branches and weeds to cover up the hole. He stresses that they cannot have beasts messing up their pool of drinking water. He assigns Black Fang and Yanhua to keep watch over the pit until he returns from the village. He insists on getting more people involved beyond just the hunting team. Back in the village, our hero gathers the entire community with a fiery speech about their successful water discovery and motivates them to join him in connecting the pipes. As volunteers step up, he returns to the site and patiently guides the bewildered group on how to connect two hollow trees. He shows them how to cut the wood to fit the shapes he's marked on the ground and then attach both ends together. By the end of the explanation, the villagers are singing his praises like he's the Merlin of plumbing. 2 days pass by, and the villagers successfully stretch the pipeline to the village, finally securing water for themselves. The entire tribe erupts in joy, attributing all the credit to our hero for achieving something as vital as water. Subai humbly tells the eager Yu Ying that he simply guided everyone and initially thought the project might take weeks, but the villagers' strength made it happen much sooner. In good spirits, he decides to implement a beneficial rule for the tribe. When the lady asks about the rule, he smirks cunningly before telling her to boil the water before drinking it. The news spreads like wildfire through the tribe, and suddenly everyone's asking the same thing. Why boil the water before drinking? While Yu Ying feels anxious, she explains about these tiny, invisible bugs in the water that boiling can supposedly kill. The villagers remain skeptical because they have never seen invisible bugs before in their life, so they brush her words off as a load of bullcrap. Their doubts start to unsettle Yu Ying, who is now losing confidence as they accuse her of spinning tales and demand a more convincing reason. After gathering herself, Yu Ying confidently adds that the sorcerer warned that anyone ignoring his advice does so at their own risk. he will not take responsibility for their health. This strikes a chord with the villagers, who remember times when people got sick and ended up dying, which was likely from bad water. Gradually, they begin to accept the sorcerer's cautionary advice about those invisible water bugs. After settling in for the night, we get to see our hero once again. While playing around with those stones, he casually asks Yu Ying if she managed to get everyone on board with boiling the water. She confirms successfully rallying the villagers to follow the new practice. Subai feels a sense of accomplishment for reducing the risk of illness from drinking water, but he knows there is more to be done, like improving the stock of food and hygiene for everyone. Suddenly, he notices Yu Ying setting up a bed nearby. Confused, he asks what she is up to, and she nonchalantly replies that she is crashing with him for the night. Subai is at a loss for words, not expecting such a bold move. Yu Ying blushes as she explains it is because she is Miko and needs to be nearby. Seeing her charm and perfectly round curves, Subai does not seem to be complaining anymore, but her hotness is way too much for him to handle. He struggles to keep his cool, especially with his nosebleeds threatening to give him away. As midnight arrives, the girl lies down right next to our clueless hero, who finds himself wide awake in the dead of night. Subai then asks if being that close is really a good idea. The lady explains that it does not matter if she is not a totem warrior, because she is willing to sacrifice herself to buy him enough time to escape. Moving on, the boy decides to stop overthinking and get back to bed because he has a lot to do the next day. He starts counting sheep to fall asleep early, but his mind keeps wandering to Yanhua's peachy butt. When he realizes this, he smacks his head in disappointment, wondering why he's thinking about clapping cheeks all of a sudden. To avoid any accidents, he simply gets up and decides to practice his healing magic to distract himself. Once he grabs a knife, he cuts his finger since there is no one else around to practice his magic on. After that, he sits down and fully immerses himself in perfecting his magic ability by healing his own finger repeatedly.